We recently heard an eye-opening description of addiction as a game of whack-a-mole. Just when you think you've knocked one down, another one pops up. Maybe alcohol was your biggest struggle, but once you quit, you start noticing all the other ways you were escaping from life. Whether it's another substance, food, social media, or even work, these habits sneak in, ready to take the place of the original addiction. In this episode, we'll explore how to break the cycle and regain control over every part of your life.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and that recovery isn't just rewarding, but it's also a lot of fun. We're your hosts, Julie and Steve. Listen as we get together with friends to shed light on the hard things, talk about the other side of addiction, and how we create a life so full there's no space left for alcohol.
If you've been struggling with sobriety for a while now, and you're not sure why it's not sticking, maybe it's time to give coaching a try. With one-on-one coaching, you get a toolbox tailored to your greatest challenges, a safe, non-judgmental place to talk about what's really going on, and some perspective to help you change your mindset so sobriety becomes a reality for you instead of just something you're wishing for. To learn more about private coaching with either Julie or Steve, myself, visit our website at throughtheglassrecovery.com and click on coaching to schedule a free discovery call.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Episode 107 of Through the Glass Recovery podcast. We have a really cool group with us today. So I think we told you guys last season, we're going to start doing some more specific topics and invite people who have dealt with specific things to join us to talk about their experiences. So we've got Daniel, Nadine, and Robbie with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about dual addictions, transfer addictions, things like that. So this should be a great conversation. I'm going to let Robbie go first because he's like the most regular of regulars, and he's done this 1,000 times, or at least like 6. So do you want to introduce yourself first, please?
Sure. My name is Robbie Pike. I live in South Dakota, Rapid City. I'm a co-host of a podcast called Golden Hour Ventures, where we interview endurance athletes. And I could say in the last few months, we've had a lot of people come on in recovery.
Yeah, definitely. I actually had the pleasure of being on Robbie's podcast, which was a really cool experience and one of my favorite recordings that I've done. So thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for being here and saving us today. Quick last minute cancellation, and Robbie is always one to show up when we send that last minute text message. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Nadine, I will let you go next.
Hello, I'm Nadine. I'm a little over 4 years alcohol-free. I live in Northern California in a town called Truckee, and I work in the event space. I work at a resort, and I help out with some live music events around California. Yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Really good to have you back and good to see you again. And last but not least is Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. So let's see, I'm 42. Let's see, I'm 11 months sober now so far, just about. So yeah, thank you. I'm a patent attorney, so I write all the cool patents that are electrical and computer stuff that are like in your cars and your phones and everything else. So it's kind of cool. Years before things come out, I get to see what's going on with like all the new technology. And I help run a sober group. It's called Slay the Poison Dragon. So I am a slayer of dragons.
Right on. Yeah, that's how we found Daniel, actually, was through his Facebook group. So really cool to have you here. And I actually didn't know I knew you were a patent attorney, but I didn't know any more than that. So it's cool to hear a little bit about that. When is your actual sober date?
Yeah, so mine's October 4th.
Okay. All right. So this is
That's only 11 months, but I'm getting there.
Oh, it's close. It's close. He's a month away.
yeah, cool. Well, early congrats. That's a super big deal, and we're really happy for you. Just happy to have all of you here with us. So, for our topic, when someone is prone to addiction, it's very common for them to be dealing with more than one thing at once. We meet people all the time who get one addiction under control, only to realize there are others lurking in the background that must be dealt with as well. Sometimes these addictions happen at the same time, and sometimes the addiction transfers from alcohol to something new after they've stopped drinking. So tell us a little bit about what that's been like for you, about some of your experiences. How do you manage more than one addiction? What's the hardest part? And most importantly, what have you learned through your experiences that you can share with our listeners?
Well, I'll start this off. I was 30-year plus cannabis user. Decided to give up cannabis, then gave it up on a Monday, and that same week I decided to give up alcohol. It was a Thursday. I shared my last margarita with my mom and made the decision that I need to go full sober from cannabis and alcohol. First, few months were pretty rocky. I have been a long distance runner since 2010. And I've heard many stories from other athletes about them using running to quit a substance abuse, transferring one addiction from another. And going into that, I knew I had to be careful. I have a very addictive personality. And what I had to do was kind of piece it together that I was already addicted to substances and I was addicted to running from the get-go. I knew I could not transfer into running. I knew that it'd be full in and I would end up in the same place I was with substance abuse. I would make up lies to go run. I would call in sick to go run. I would tell myself all the little stories and lies that my running was healthy. And one of the big things I fight is society tells us that running or something that is healthy is okay to have an addiction to. In my opinion, I do not believe that. The reason why is if we're transferring one addiction to another, we're already addicted to something and we've already told ourselves all the lies why we do it. And I didn't want to go into that with my running and continue to lie to myself that this was a healthy alternative to substance abuse. Because in the end, for me, it would have been the same patterns, the same old story telling myself, but it would be running. And what I was really trying to do is self-consciously work on that trauma that I've had in my childhood and through my adult life. And if I just went and continued to numb the pain with running, I would not grow as a person.
I remember a conversation you and I had once when we were talking about the running, and I asked you, what was your intention? Remember that conversation?
I do.
And you were like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Wow, this hits so close to home for me. I'm in that trap and have been in it. This is like what you're saying right now. I've been living that. I totally understand what you're talking about. I don't know if I can share on this topic real quick, but I
Go for it.
a comment on it. But that was actually one of the things I was going to bring up is, when I met my wife, she was a marathon runner and, she's ran maybe 20 marathons and it's run to Boston and, she had placed in the top 3. So she was really good, but she was in a bad spot when I met her, like she was living with a bunch of girls after college, bouncing from job to job. And a lot of them were using running to cope with what was going on in their life after college. And then I started getting into it, because that's how I got to hang out with her when I first met her. But then I started doing some marathons too, And I have I don't know if they say there's a highly addictive personality, but I have highly addictive personality. And running became one of those things where like, I couldn't do anything unless I got my run in. Like, oh, kids, you have like a soccer game. Well, I'm going to go to the soccer game, but I'm going to run around the field or the neighborhood while you're doing your soccer game. So instead of being present for my kids, I'm getting that dopamine chemical fix in my head that I like must have before I can do anything. And it even leads to anxiety, like, I haven't worked out yet. I'm a total wreck until I worked out. Or like there's times where Colleen will sit on her couch and be like, my soul feels black today. And I'm like, why don't you go work out? And all we're trying to do is shove more chemicals in our brain, to feel okay instead of addressing what's really going on. Like you said, childhood trauma, or for me, I was a dopamine addict to all kinds of stuff I'll get into when it's my turn.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting you guys say that, because I remember when I first was like struggling, quitting drinking and such, I always thought, I was like, why can't I have like a good healthy addiction like running?
Oh, no.
Now I know that it's not like, yeah, once I quit drinking, I was like, oh, this is a coping mechanism I'm using, a really bad one, but there's this underlying problem or whatever I have to work through or fix. So I think that's interesting.
I love the perspective you put on that.
I remember when Steve asked me that question about intention, I was having really bad anxiety attacks while I was out running, and I couldn't figure it out. I used to listen to a lot of music, podcasts, books when I was running, just to numb out the pain, to get out of my own head while I was doing it. And I had another conversation with another friend that's in recovery, and he's also a runner. And he's like, you need to turn all that shit off. You just need to turn it off. And I'm like, why do I need to turn it off? He's like, look at the flowers, look at the trees, be present in your run. You're running from something. I'm like, oh, you're so right. And every time I'd get back to my car, I would sit down and I'd almost just have a breakdown, with anxiety, because I would go run from whatever I was running from. And then I got back in that car and had to turn the car on, and I was right back into reality. And I didn't deal with anything that I could have dealt with while I was out running. I wasn't present. I was all over the place. Then as soon as I turned the car on, I was like, oh, I got to come back to reality. I'm back in my car. I have to drive. And it took me a while to figure that out. And I actually gave up running for a while. Because I had to. It was just like, I cannot continue to keep doing this circle. Now I'm doing it with other things. Yeah, maybe I'm sober, but I'm still doing that same circle and the same routine. And it took me a while to get back to it. You're
still working your way back into it, aren't you?
I am. It's been, I've been on and off, running here and there, doing adventures in the mountains or wherever I can. But I have to come to a place where I can't use running as an escape. And that may sound weird for a lot of people, but I know when, you're addicted to substances and you quit, we will grab hold of anything to release the pain, good or bad, to try to get through life.
Is it release the pain, or is it just hide from the pain? It's a temporary fix, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you'd be out there, you'd run, you'd have something going on in your head, whether it was, whatever you were listening to. And then as soon as you're done, you're like, shit, it's all still there. And that's what we did when we were drinking, right? You drink and drink and drink, and then you'd finally sober up and be like, shit, life still sucks. Nothing's changed. I know for me, like, I can probably name a handful of different secondary addictions or things that I at least show addictive behavior with. And they're not necessarily substances. I've never really dealt with other substances besides alcohol. But like for me, social media was as much of an addiction as alcohol was. When I quit drinking alcohol this time, the same day I quit social media, I had to, because every post I would word it just right, and I would have just the right picture, and I would get all the dopamine from that social media post.
Look at Daniel. Cringe.
It was like that was my backup. So if I couldn't drink, or if the drinking wasn't doing enough for me when I was back, when I was in addiction, then my social media posts were my backup. So I could post something online, and all these people would tell me how great I was, and I'd be like, I'm freaking awesome. And it's all the unhealthy dopamine, all the unhealthy affirmation. But then if I didn't get it, if I posted something and I got like 3 likes, I'd be like, oh, I suck. And I would crash instead. So it was the same up and down that alcohol was giving me. So when I quit drinking, I quit social media. And it was like same day. I'm like, I can't drink. I can't be on social media. I'm giving them both up. And I didn't touch social media again for a year. Oh, wow. I shut down my Facebook page. I didn't totally delete it, but I don't know what do they call that. Anyway, I
Put it to bed.
Whatever it was. Yeah, I deactivated it. So I didn't look at it for a year, and oh my God, it was so cleansing to not have that also. Yeah. But then since we've started the podcast, I've had to go back to social media a little bit, and I post sometimes here and there, and I can feel it. I hate the way it feels, because if I write a post, like, I'm writing from the heart. I'm not writing to impress people anymore. I'm writing for a completely different reason, but you still get all the likes, and you still get all the comments, and you still get you're so inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing. And every single one of those gives me a little high, and then I can feel the crash the next day. And so I have to be really careful with what I do on social media still. And I guess that's the thing that I want to bring up, is like these behavioral addictions that we're all talking about. Is there a balance, and how do you find it? And how do you not let it carry you away again if you try to bring it back in moderation? Because moderating behaviors is different than, we know we can't moderate alcohol. We can live without it. But there's people with, shopping addictions and eating addictions and sex addictions and all of these things that, like, a moderate amount should be a part of your life.
Yep.
But it's so easy to get carried away with it. So anyway, those are my thoughts on.
I would love to chime in on this one if it's okay.
Go for it.
Sorry, Guild. I love you all. Slay the poison dragon slayers. But so, yeah, I actually had my Facebook deactivated for a year or two before I became sober October 4th. So I was actually off of it before. I would try and sneak on here and there like once a month or something. But my wife is very much not into me being on social media because I'm an oversharer. I'm just a very open, kind of raw, vulnerable person. And so how I got sober, though, I tried all these different things and nothing was working. I mean, I was learning and growing stronger, but I joined some of these sober Facebook groups, and I started posting like vivid, vibrant stuff about my life, saying like, hey, here's my family. I'm trying to do this for them. I don't want to die, kind of stuff. And like my struggles during the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to dinner. I'm freaking out. What do I do? So, man, I've been since October 4th posting probably 4 times a day. And that emotion, and after a month, I was actually kicked out of those sober groups because I was too much. My addiction must have been like at like a 1,000 level compared to everybody else because it just latched onto that. And so then, so that was very sad not having that, you're talking about like a crash from like your emotions. So then me and Gian, who started our group, and what an emotional roller coaster that, just like you're talking about, no matter how much I try and set boundaries around myself, and, every day I tell myself like, this isn't about me. I'm trying to help other people. I'm trying to, do the will of the universe, not my own selfish will. Because like, oh man, that makes it so hard. Because like you're talking about, you're sharing and you're getting like all these emotions of Do people like what I share? Did I share the right thing? Oh my gosh, does this look great? Am I impacting people? Do people care about me?
Did they comment? Do I get to respond back?
Right.
Right? And so this is the thing that makes it so hard is like, I spent so much time at AA, sponsor, all the quit lit books, journaling, everything, and nothing worked. I still drink. Like I would go to AA meetings at 8 o'clock at night, come home at 9, celebrate, and then 9:30, I'm still drinking again. So like somehow that accountability and sober community, something with that like really, really works for me. And so I'm at this like, it's something I'm going to have to figure out and haven't at all. You said we didn't have to have a solution.
You don't. I mean, you can be right in the middle of it. That's why we want to have the conversation, right? Like there's Robbie talks about you wanting to heal and doing the things. Like what is at the root of it, and how can I actually solve that problem? Like you said, like a healthy addiction. It sounds like the same thing as high functioning alcoholic.
Yeah. My emotional state is literally what I come down to is like, I'm totally cool with my family, friends, my work, everything's just totally cool going on. But like my emotional state like rolls with how the guild's doing. Are my friends doing okay? Are they having a bad day? Are they relapsing? Are they angry? Do they even like what we're doing here? You know, did our Zoom meeting go well? And like my mental health and emotions basically follows like however, because I read all the posts and there's like 70, 80 posts a day, you know, every single day since, you know, November 14th. And I comment on every post so I can, it's like I absorb all their energy, and it is an addiction. You know, I want to see how my friends are doing, and that's my recovery, but it's very much tied to my emotional state.
It goes back to Steve's question is like, what is your intention with this, right? And I think that we can start with your intention, or my intention was to show up and inspire people and to share my story so other people would benefit from it. And if I'm not careful and I don't watch it, then my intention turns into, I want people to tell me I'm good. I want people to tell me I'm worthy. So I don't have to deal with that shit on my own, and I don't have to come to believe it on my own. I could just let other people keep fueling that for me. And like, I don't, as soon as I have boundaries now, so as soon as I feel myself fall back into that, I'm like, I can't do social media. I'll take like a month off. And then it's all on Steve. But it's such like, it's just it is. It's such a personality thing for me, I feel like. And so, yeah, no, it's really interesting just to hear you talk about that, because I can see how it's so easy to get sucked into that. And at some point it becomes an escape, and it becomes a chance to deal with other people's problems instead of your own problems, right?
So yes, you're right. And then you have, and Nadine, I'm going to give you the floor after this one. You have the transfer addiction. Well, this is what I'm going to call it. I quit drinking. I started smoking way more. And then I started smoking in places where I drank, where I promised myself I wouldn't do, and it turned into a problem. And I realized I smoked to escape, because I would go out for a smoke break and that would give me a break from my work. And then when I smoked, it gave me something to do. When I stopped doing that, I had to face the time, the thoughts, the emotion, everything. And so I ended up quitting that completely about 6 months sober. But it transfers. Like, okay, I went from really unhealthy alcohol use to even more unhealthy smoking, to where did that go next? I ate a crap ton of food. I ate sugar like it was gone out of style. I transferred it to that, and I ate copious amounts of chips and junk food for the first year of my, like, copious amounts.
Anytime we were on Zoom, he was eating junk food. And we were on Zoom a lot.
Like 4 times a week. bags and bags of chips and bags of, like, and I don't even think I was suppressing. I don't feel like I was really suppressing anything, but it was definitely something that transferred over. And so when I look at it, I go, okay, I removed one really unhealthy thing, and it made something else really unhealthy. It was better for me than what the alcohol was at the time. Yeah. And then the smoking came up, and okay, I got rid of that. And then the food was better for me than the alcohol or the smoking was at the time. And so if I move slowly through a transfer and another transfer and another transfer, and during that time I become more and more self-aware of what's going on and what my intention is of when and what I'm doing things, because I'm telling you, I didn't gain this magical amount of clarity where I saw what I was doing and the intentions of what I was doing. I was doing a lot of these things really subconsciously until it came to a point where I'm like, oh crap, this is unhealthy. Like, what am I doing here? And then I can't unsee it anymore. Like, once I see it and once I know, oh crap, I'm getting a crap ton of, what is this feeling that I'm getting from social media? Because it happens to me too, right? I'm getting a crap ton of dopamine, and I'm good for like 2 days, and I'm on this wicked high, and then and now I'm sad and I'm emotional and I feel like I'm in this weird kind of depression. And then 2 days later, after I've kind of distanced myself from everything, my mood comes back up, and I'm smiling a little bit more again, and I've come right out of it. And it's the same thing that happens over and over and over again, especially when it comes to social media.
I'm just going to say, I love the point that you made there, and I think it needs to be reiterated that you continued to grow through each transfer addiction until you get to the point where there's really not the pull of another addiction. And I think that's a really important thing that we need to know, because I think transfer addictions are normal, and it doesn't mean you're doing things wrong.
Nope.
It just means you still have a lot of work to do.
I was addicted to attention. I was addicted to the chaos. I was addicted to my own created chaos. I couldn't have something non-dramatic happening. So I would create the drama to create the attention to get, and all of it was unhealthy. And that all stemmed from my really unhealthy relationships. Overall, the way I saw relationships and the way I saw what love and caring and all of that stuff was just really twisted. So I went and chased after it because that's all I knew. Yeah. Until I realized it's an addiction. I was addicted to that chaos.
And then you dealt with the issue.
Yes, it's not.
And you don't have the behavior
anymore
that comes from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nadine.
Yep.
You've been sitting ever so quietly, and we want to hear what you have to say too.
What is a secondary transfer addiction to you?
Well, one of my friends in recovery, Doug, he has said to me that he smoked alcoholically, and I just kind of, like, you could insert anything, like I use social media alcoholically or anything, and just to me that really hit, because it just made sense to me, because I feel like I am doing that smoking right now too. I have smoked marijuana since I was 16 years old, and I've always been in circles and work jobs and been around where it's been condoned and it's okay and it's healthy and like almost encouraged. So I've been smoking this whole time, but when I quit using alcohol was finally and I never thought I had a problem with marijuana, but I quit using alcohol, and then I was like, oh, well, this kind of seems like I'm completely blocking any kind of emotional feelings I have when anything comes up in my life. Like, I think I may be using this alcoholically now, and I need to take a look at this, because I was super proud of myself for, quitting drinking, which was definitely a problem in my life. But then I feel like maybe now the marijuana, where it might have helped in the past, I think it definitely helped me quit alcohol. But now I'm using that alcoholically to block any sort of further growth maybe I could do. So I need to work on that because I think it is blocking my growth. I think, because I am doing it too much and it feels like I'm blocking something, the whole moderation thing, like that I couldn't do with alcohol, that's transferring too. So maybe the whole California sober thing isn't for me anymore. So I gotta figure that out because I do want to grow as a person and figure out why I have an addictive personality, like dig deeper. Because I do that with social media too. Like I know when I go on social media too much, I'm just disengaging from my life because there's something, and I just look at other people's lives because then I'm not looking at my own. So I don't know.
I have something I can add to that. My cannabis use was far worse than my alcohol use. I was high from the time I got up to the time I went to bed. I've talked about this before. I used the alcohol as the social lubricant. I would get so high, my social anxiety would go through the roof. The only way I found that I could go out socially was start drinking. I'd start drinking, then I'd start getting high again. And I'd just play that game back and forth till I'd pass out. So when I decided to quit cannabis, a few days later, I decided to stop the alcohol. And with the cannabis, now it's recreational, medical, a lot of states. For me, that was way harder to quit than alcohol. And what I realized after, a few months of not using cannabis anymore was that it was really affecting my mental health far worse than the alcohol was. I used the cannabis for everything. Good days, bad days, angry, sad, happy, didn't matter. And it's so easy to get high all day. You can hide it anywhere now with the stuff they've come out with, that once I got a few months of that away from me, it was like a huge wake-up call, like, wow, I have really done something in my life that was really blocking that pain. The first 10 minutes of getting high was good, but then the paranoia came in, the anxiety came in, and I would just keep getting high to chase that first hit, and I could never get it again. And it really put me in a deep, dark place. And I don't think it gets talked about enough where cannabis can take you. We talk about alcohol a lot, a lot of other, substances, crack, cocaine, all those, meth. But I really think we need to start talking about cannabis use more, because I think, it really blocks your growth.
Mm-hmm. I've been reading Dopamine Nation. Steve knows all about it. And it's really good. She actually brings up a lot about how marijuana causes a lot of anxiety and some other stuff that you think you're smoking it to cure the anxiety. And then when the girl, I think on it, gives it up and everything for a month, all these things go away that she thought she was like self-medicating with, but it was actually the marijuana that was actually causing a lot of this anxiety and other stuff. I'm still reading the book. I'm almost done, but it was very eye-opening.
Well, that's like, I quit alcohol. I thought I was drinking to make my anxiety go away. Well, it turns out the alcohol was causing my anxiety. Yeah. And then I think it was either Daniel or Robbie said with the running, it was Daniel, you said like you had anxiety if, the running, like the addictive running habit was causing anxiety. There's any of these things that we transfer to have the ability to come back and affect our mental health again. And then we just have to escape the next thing.
Yeah. And the tough one for some of these that I'm in the middle of is, Steve, you talk about the eating, and you talk about you're going from here and then you're transferring a little better and a little better and a little better. Mm-hmm. Like for me, like that hard thing is like, like running, because it's easy to justify a lot of running because it's healthy, like you talked about, Robbie. And then with the social media, like I actually don't use my own like social media page. Like I might post a little bit here and there, but I don't look at anything. I go straight into the group. And so in my head, it's this constant battle of I'm throwing like 15 to 20 hours a week into basically my sobriety group. Almost like if I was doing AA and doing 90 meetings in 90 days, talking with my sponsor, doing 12-step work, like throwing my all into it versus, and that is my sober community. So when I go into it, that's what I'm doing. The problem, just like with running, is my sober community and my interactions and my way of staying sober and trying to inspire others still gives you wild emotional dopamine highs and lows and swings because that's just the nature of it. So like it's keeping me sober and I'm trying to help others stay sober, but I'm using this tool, social media, to do it. And I have to be very aware of this because otherwise, like I said, my day, I'm in a good or bad mood depending on how things are going at my social media group. It really is. Calling like, you're in a bad mood. I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you about
I mean,
that happened in the go.
You see it, and that's a big thing. I think Nadine said something else that was really important, so I'm going to reiterate that too. Apparently, that's my job for this episode.
Doing great.
Like, thank you, Nadine. In as many words, you basically said like marijuana helped you in the beginning. That's what helped you quit alcohol, but now it's no longer serving you, right?
And it just keeps getting stronger. Like if you think about it, no one has really ever taken anything like in that realm as strong as what we're taking now.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
I like that's kind of interesting, but I don't know. All this self-awareness, it's sometimes frustrating too. Like when you're in it, or like maybe it's when you're growing because you're like, I know these things are affecting me or I'm having these feelings, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. Damn, you self-awareness.
But as long as you keep smoking, then you're not figuring it out too, right?
Yeah,
That's the hard part. That's the frustrating part. No, I just think that's a really important question. Like if there's listeners that are trying to figure out, is this behavior or is this other substance or whatever, is it really an addiction? I guess the answer is it still serving you?
Is it disturbing the balance of your life?
Yeah, is it disturbing the balance? There's so many good questions here I think people can ask themselves, like what is your intention with this behavior or this substance? And is this substance really serving your life in a beneficial, positive way? Is it affecting the balance? That's a great one, Steve.
Right? Is it affecting the balance of my life? Is it removing me from being present? Daniel, you said this. Is it removing? I'm just going to wrap this up, I think. But is it removing me from being present where I should probably be? Is it removing me from dealing with some of the things in my life that I know I should be dealing with? Is it causing me to procrastinate a decision? Is it causing me to, generally speaking, when we speak about addictions, we speak about a negative effect in our lives. And Robbie, you talked about the negative effect running had, right? It was all up in your own head. Nadine, you talked about still right now how, marijuana helped you, but now you're questioning the decision. And Daniel, you talked about social media. Social media is a big one for you. And the dopamine and how your emotions follow the group. And that's all a part of you removed a substance. You removed a thing. I give myself a chance to heal. I'm going to put my energy here instead. Then I become self-aware of where my energy is going, and that's not serving me anymore, so I need to do something about it. And everyone here is talking about doing something about it after they've realized that this isn't working for me anymore. And I think that's where it starts, is this isn't working for me anymore. And you guys were all fantastic on this episode. Robbie, thank you for showing up last minute. Appreciate you. Love you to bits, man. Nadine, it's awesome to have you back on here. It's awesome to have you a part of this. Daniel, it's great to have another member of the guild on the podcast. So thank you all for showing up and sharing your thoughts and experiences. This is a great episode.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this space with us today. We hope you found the conversation to be valuable, and we would love for you to share it with others that might benefit from it too. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow Through the Glass Recovery podcast, and we will be back next week with an episode about how to make it through the first 30 days with as little suffering as possible.